Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
A warm welcome to the topic 3 of the week of the course Roadmap for Patent Creation. Today we will see what is IPR. In the previous module, we learned about the property and intellectual property and what are the similarities and differences between them. We are now also aware about what are the different rights of the owner of the property. In this session, we will try to understand what are intellectual property rights. As this module will cover various terminologies, for the ease of understanding of the subject, we have divided this module in part 1 and part 2. So, here we go. As discussed in earlier module, intellectual properties are the creation of mind such as inventions, literary and artistic works, symbols, names, images and designs used in commerce. The above mentioned sentence depicts various creations of mind such as inventions, literary and artistic works, symbols, names, images and designs. And the other important word mentioned is a commerce. So, you might have guessed now that there might be different types of intellectual property which can protect these different creations, and these are useful in commerce. Your guess is correct. Different types of intellectual property are used in business to create wealth. Remember, high quality IP will create more and more wealth. Also please note, generally any IP is created for wealth creation or strategic benefit. So, two important things, wealth generation and strategic benefit. Rather, with reference to patent, it is mandatory as per Indian Patent Act to declare the working of the patent. Please check this example how a patent is used in wealth creation.
This is an issued US patent. It deals with limiting the forces in the train. This patent is for improving the wheel slip control. This patent deals with the dynamic. This patent is to recover. This patent is for cranking. This patent is for this patent deals. Only two people within GE has more patents than I do. One of them is Thomas Edison. My name is AJ Kumar. I have created over 300 US patents while working as a GE employee. I studied electrical engineering in India. There the emphasis has always been large power transmission equipment, and when I came to US, I studied microelectronics. So during the summer of that year, I was wondering how do I combine both of these together, and I applied to GE and the rest is history. I've been involved with all products GE Transportation has worked on, but primary focus is on freight locomotives. Every locomotive that GE produces involves several of my patents. Freight locomotives have been here for over 100 years. Over the last 30-40 years, it has completely converted from DC to AC propulsion through my patents and additional work by others. I want to say it's all me. My favorite patent is a dynamic weight management system for AC locomotives. Freight locomotives are used to pull heavy freight, and when the rails are slippery, it's difficult to pull freight. So what this does is it dynamically and automatically adjusts the weight on each axle so that it can pull more freight. Problem solving is not an instantaneous thing. It takes many years. For me, ideas come from various sources, but for an idea to develop, you need a problem. If you listen and pay attention to the world around you, there is problems everywhere. And around you, there are lots of solutions too. When I'm mentoring, what I try to teach is to pay attention to the changing world around you and just look at how significant even small changes could be.
AJ has a way of pointing out or conveying the problem, and he has a way of asking questions that point you right in that direction right off the bat.
In my 40-year career with GE, I have seen.
Coming back to what is IPR, these are rights gained over creation of intellect. These rights over property are result of intellectual efforts. These IPR provide exclusive rights. So, what are the types of IPR? As per classification of property, we have seen that the property is divided into two main types as tangible and intangible. We have seen in details in earlier module what is tangible and intangible, right? This tangible property can be further divided into movable and immovable properties. So, for example, movable property will be car, jewellery, bicycle, railway, etc. And immovable property will be house or bungalow or college building or bridges, etc. Intellectual property is a type of intangible property. As per another classification, we can classify intangible assets into intellectual property and intellectual capital. For this course, we will focus only on intellectual property. However, we will see very briefly what is a intellectual capital. We are constantly saying that India is very rich in intellectual capital. So, what do you mean by this intellectual capital? This intellectual capital is divided into three subtypes: human capital, relational capital, structural capital. Along with these three capitals, that is human, relational and structural capital, cognitive capital, conative capital and affective capital are the parts of intellectual capital. Cognitive capital, conative capital and affective capital, and human capital, relational capital and structural capital. These six forms of intellectual capital together make up the innovation capital of an organization. Innovation capital is responsible for creation. Creation includes innovations and inventions. So, intellectual capital is human, relational and structural capital, cognitive, conative and affective capital. They form innovation capital. So, next question is, what is human capital? What is relational capital? What is structural capital? What is cognitive capital? What is conative capital? What is affective capital? We will not go in technical details, although we will try to understand these terminologies by an example, a simple example. So, take an example of any organization, say the school in which you are learning or a college or organization you are working. So, what is human capital of your college or school? All students, teachers, non-teaching staff, they form a human capital. What is relational capital? Relational capital of your college or school will be vendors, suppliers, any collaborations with other organizations. So, you can add up in this list. Now, next is structural capital. This includes the infrastructure of your college or school. So, these three are a major types of intellectual capital: human, structural and relational. Now, the next important is cognitive capital. Do not get bothered by terminologies, just try to understand the concept. So, cognitive capital, it is mental action or a process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience and the senses. I repeat, cognitive capital is the mental action or a process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience and senses. Conative capital, it is a natural tendency, impulse, striving or directed effort. So, what is conative capital? It is a natural tendency, impulse, striving or a directed effort. What is affective capital? It is related to your moods, feelings and attitude. To understand these last three capitals, that is cognitive, conative and affective, we will take example. Say Volkswagen, you have seen advertisement or commercial of Volkswagen, right? In this, you might have seen a scientist feeling nostalgic when the car moves out of the factory. So, this is a affective capital, a feeling for the creation. This feeling is a affective capital. Many times during development of the car model, they might have taken decisions based on their intuition, correct? Of course, that intuition is based on their knowledge in that subject, so that whatever is a conative capital. So, these three, conative, cognitive, affective and then human, structural and relational, all together forms innovation capital. This innovation capital creates invention or innovation or any other type of a creation. Okay. So, now these two terms, innovation and invention. What do you understand by innovation and invention? Both are same or they are different? Please find out. You can Google if you are not aware about the meaning of these two terms, innovation and invention. These are two different terms having different meaning, but for both you can get patent. The innovation and inventions are necessary to generate patent, in turn to generate wealth. So, this is intellectual capital which creates intellectual property. But before that, do you found out meaning of innovation and invention? Take your time. Here we will end this part of the third module, that is what is IPR. In the next part of the third module, we will go in detail about types of intellectual properties. In part 1, we have seen details about intellectual capital. Now, we will see in detail various types of intellectual property. Many times we see people use the words patent, copyright, industrial design and so on. Are these terms same or different? Definitely different. However, sometimes in newspaper you see the reporter have used these terms interchangeably. Actually, such use of words without understanding the meaning is disturbing. You see, many people use word copyright to patent, patent to design and so on. So, please concentrate now. We will see the differences in all these types. So, you can correct such mistakes if anyone is doing. The first broader classification of intellectual property includes patents, trademarks, industrial designs and geographical indications mainly. Copyright covers literary work such as novels, poems, plays, etc. It also includes films, music, artistic work, for example, drawings, paintings, photographs and sculptures, and of course, architectural design. So, copyright covers all these things. Rights related to copyright include those of performing artists, their performances, broadcasters' rights in their radio and television program. So, related rights are performance right and a broadcaster's rights. So, copyright include copyright and related rights. Related rights are performance rights and broadcasting rights. Copyright and these related rights itself is a very vast subject, and it is very important mainly for film industry and publishing industry. We are not going in detail of it here. Then industrial property. It is divided as earlier said patent, design, trademarks and geographical indications. Patent is further divided into product patent, process patent and then there is a utility patent, but in India there is no arrangement such as a utility patent, only product and process patent, two types. We are learning in further modules details of patent, a huge IP area. Then comes a trademark. You have heard brand names, say Tata, Reliance, Bombay Dyeing, Patanjali, Amul. With single word you appreciate certain thing. Tata, when we say Tata, immediately you remember some unique qualities. Reliance, immediately you remember something, some framework comes in your mind. Bombay Dyeing, immediately quality bed sheets, you remember that bed sheet thing. Patanjali, immediately you remember some Patanjali toothpaste or some other product. Amul, only one word, immediately you think Gujarat and milk, right? So, this is trademark, a single logo, name or sign or symbol, it represents a business. There are various types of trademark and again a very important vast IP subject. A few are mentioned there like a service mark, collective mark, etc. Next type is a industrial design. Can you see the car design here? Just check what picture comes if I say Mercedes-Benz car, a special design, a Bisleri bottle, again a special design, it immediately pops up in your mind. A Dove shampoo. So, a specific design again pops up when we say a Dove shampoo. Thus, with these names, some design comes in front of your eyes. This is what the industrial design is. This is another type of IP. In India, we say industrial design. In USA, there is a design patent. So, we are not going in details of this here. Next is a geographical indication. So, suppose now I say Tirupati Laddu, Darjeeling tea, Kolhapuri chappal, Rasagulla. What happened? A particular region you immediately remembered. When you say Tirupati Laddu, that particular region you remembered. Darjeeling tea, that Darjeeling thing comes into your mind. Kolhapuri chappal, immediately you remember about the Kolhapur and the chappal. Rasagulla, immediately a West Bengal. So, with a single word you relate it towards a geography. The unique qualities are due to that geographical location. So, geographical indication of goods is another type of IP. India is very rich in GI, which we can leverage for a wealth creation.
And now the story of a sweet war. West Bengal's famous Bangla Rasgulla has got geographical indication or the GI tag from the Indian Patent Office. The state has trumped Odisha, which had reportedly sought the coveted status for its Rasgulla. Now the development assumes significance as the two states had claimed for getting the GI tag. Odisha had claimed that the sweet originated from the Jagannath temple in Puri, where it is a part of the religious ritual since the 12th century. Odisha calls it Pahla Rasgulla. On the other hand, West Bengal had asserted that confectioner Nobin Chandra Das is widely known as the one who created Rasgulla in the 1860s. Bangla Rasgulla is a syrupy dessert popular in all over India and abroad.
So, patent, trademark, industrial design and geographical indication are major industrial properties. Then there is a semiconductor layout of design, another type of intellectual property. The next type is a trade secret, a very important aspect of business. We are considering it under intellectual property here, although there is no any dedicated act enacted for its protection, as it is a secret, trade secret. So, it is a secret. So, you know many times in small businesses also, the owner keeps something related to business very secret. Only he or a few members know that particular thing, especially in family businesses. This something which is kept secret to run the business is unique way and it is called as a trade secret. It is again the one of the type of IP, we are considering it under the intellectual property here. So, in this classification we are considering patent, trademark, industrial design, geographical indication, semiconductor layout design and trade secret under industrial property. The next type of IP is related to plants and farmers' right. A separate act is enacted in India to protect this. It is another type of IP, that protection of plant varieties and farmers' right. The next type is a traditional knowledge. It is again very important area. We, India it is a very rich in traditional knowledge, a knowledge which is transferred from one generation to other, again a very vast subjects. So, these are the various types of IP. There are 8 types of IP with reference to, with reference to traditional knowledge, some research scholar consider it a separate domain, some consider it under a IP. So, we will focus a classification as shared here as intellectual property classified into 2, industrial property and copyright and its related rights, that is a one type, one classification. Industrial property will include patent, trademark, industrial design, geographical indication, semiconductor layout design and trade secret, 6 types. Then protection of plant varieties and farmers right, one type, and this together forms the 8 types of intellectual property, and the separate thing we are considering as a traditional knowledge. Now, various acts are enacted in India to protect this intellectual creation. These are Patent Act, Copyright Act, Trademarks Act, Designs Act, Geographical Indication of Goods Registration and Protection Act, Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers Right Act, Semiconductor Integrated Circuit Layout Design Act and Biological Diversity Act. Again a very important act. Now, we know the details about intellectual property and these various acts which are enacted. Okay. So, tangible property and intangible property. What is the status of percentage of tangible property and intangible property in any organization? Here it is. In 1980, scenario was 80% of organization assets were tangible assets, and now as mentioned earlier, we are in knowledge economy. Can you guess what is the percentage now? Here it is. Now it is reverse, 80% or more are intangible assets and only 20% are tangible assets. So, Coca-Cola, Kellogg's, they have a 95% are the intangible assets. IBM is having 92%. Microsoft, it is having 88% intangible assets. You can appreciate the shift and importance of IP. So, again check this classification: industrial property and copyright and related rights. Now, a few more clarifications. This is the classification of IP in India. In other countries, this classification may be a little different. So, in USA there is plant patent. So, such difference and a few more such variations that we will see in upcoming modules. So, in India, these are the types of IPR. We are concentrating here only on one type, that is patent. Now, you can appreciate how vast this subject is. These are just types I have mentioned. The objective is henceforth when you will use terms patent, copyright, you will appreciate the differences among these types. So, with this we come to an end of this module, that is a types of IPR. Next module is completely dedicated to cover what are the future upcoming areas related to IP. You will be surprised with these new areas and complexity and coverage of the subject intellectual property rights. See you in the next module. Thank you.